Hello traders, Cousin Benny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, April the 5th, 2020. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll talk about the indices, all of which moved lower. However, stocks do look fairly bullish going into this week. With the FANG stocks off a bit, though we did see Microsoft and Intel outperforming, Netflix is looking better, and Amazon did manage to close green as well. The bond stock ratio is at an extreme. It does show signs of weakening. However, it is neutral at extreme highs. The Dow Composite, the S&P 1500, and the XII are all bearish to neutral to end the week, while tick cumulative for both the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange remained bearish into Friday's close. NYMO and NAMO continue to show a bullish turn. Although NYSE and NASI did see a bullish crossover, those did peak on Thursday and Friday. Breadth thrust also faded. NYHL, the new highs, new lows, faded as well. And the S&P Equal Weight Index is at resistance right near the December 2018 lows. Put call is neutral. That looks a lot better. US dollar has been in extremes, dropping, popping, dropping again, popping last week back up to recent levels around 101.50, though we do show signs that ranges are starting to compress on all of the Forex pairs. AGG, IEF, all of the bond durations are starting to see the same thing. Investors and traders seem to be factoring in the volatility as it continues to move lower. They are getting a bit bolder. So we'll talk about that with the IBD 50 stocks that we'll review later, in addition to MarketSmith Growth 250 and stocks on the top 20 volume percent gainers list. Gold saw a bullish bounce last week on Wednesday, right at the 9, 21-day, and 50-day moving average convergence area. Copper is starting to rise a bit, and West Texas crude had one of the most bullish weeks it's seen since 1983, rising 31.75% off of the lows. Heat map is shifting more to bullish. This is the second week in a row where heat map looks a lot better. International markets are looking better as well. With Bukowski showing 505 red, his CPI signal remains bearish at 17%, with 42 bearish patterns, 9 bullish patterns, and 788 patterns waiting for breakout. Bottom line, we're still cautious. We are following some of the more bullish breakouts in some of these stocks that fared well last week, like Microsoft, Intel, USO, and a lot of the crude oil stocks. So keep an eye on energy. We'll also watch the sectors. XLK had a pretty good week. XLE energy had a pretty good week. International indices are also neutral to slightly bullish, so we want to see some of those continue to move higher. So start off cautious. Let's see what happens Monday and Tuesday. We'll watch what institutions do. The takeaway was that we saw fewer blocks on Friday until about 3 o'clock in the evening, being a weekly OPEX session. Block volume did start to pick up towards the end of the day. So we're going to see more of that on Monday and Tuesday. Here are the spiders. Notice RSI remains below 50. We did get rejected at the 21-day on Tuesday, remained below the 9 EMA, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We were looking for a close above the 9 EMA, the dashed blue line. On Friday, it didn't happen. We do note a 50-200-day cross, so that needs to change. Price action needs to get back above the 21-day. Don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we'll keep an eye on it. MACD is still rising above its signal line. So maybe this week we get a little bit of a follow-through. We did note that VIX dropping off will have an impact on dealers and market makers that need to cover their short put positions, with a 2,500 level on the S&P 500 and 250 on the spiders remaining as resistance at the present time, with this S&P 500 weekly chart also giving us the same resistance level right around 2,500 is where all of that open interest remains. The 200 period just overhead. RSI is oversold and starting to show signs of improving. So if we do see some sort of catalyst this week, we'll look for more upside. Otherwise, there is still the possibility we could retest the recent lows from 2 weeks ago. As MACD continues to drop, showing some signs that maybe we're starting to turn, we'll look for that turn this week. Growth stocks continue to outperform. As this line rises, that's telling us that IGX is outperforming IVX, growth versus value, with both just below their 20-period moving averages on the daily time frame. So keep an eye on the big cap tech stocks. If we do see a follow through in NASDAQ stocks, as the weekly shows resistance just below the 200-period moving average, sellers still coming in north of 7650, 7700, all the way up to 8000, finishing off on a weekly spinning top. MACD has yet to turn, and volume is starting to fade. RSI was oversold and beginning to show signs of improvement. The IWM weekly did show a reluctance to move back to the lows. That could happen this week if we do see more weakness in small caps. Volume is starting to taper off on the weekly time frame. We do have some crossovers, 20 and 50 day overhead, with the best case scenario, price action staying inside of this range that we saw last week. Sellers are persistent above 114 up to about 118 over the last couple of weeks. So if we can get through that level, maybe we'll see the December lows again in the short term. While we wait for VIX to move lower again this week, finishing off on a green signal that's telling us to look for higher highs and higher lows. As the daily time frame shows quite well, we did finish off on a gravestone doji as the drop from highs accelerates to the downside. That could be a catalyst that will force market makers and dealers to cover their short put positions, as we already mentioned. So VIX is still the key. Looking for more downside to help us establish a base at current lows on the indices, all the while looking for breadth to improve. As we can see with the black line, 2 weeks ago, this started to turn higher. Third week of March, we did bottom. NIMO and NAMO have improved. So this is a good sign. Looks somewhat neutral on this time frame for the NASDAQ 100, only 100 stocks. We have a crossover on NASI. That's looking a lot better. We need to see a follow-through on both the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, and the S&P 500. Persistent trend, though we did see NYSE show signs of a peak. We'd like to see these 2,000 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange composite follow through, give us a green stick on Elder. As we pointed out last week, there was a possibility either we would follow through to the downside or upside after getting rejected last week. We do have a fairly large level of support down below. So if we start the base here, and we can see new highs, new lows improving a bit more. This was at 0.54 3 weeks ago, steadily improving at 5.70. That's just telling you more stocks are starting to bottom and follow through. We'd need to see RSI rising as well. If we can get back into this white area, this is 2,000 stocks. We look for more stocks on the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, and the IWM to move higher. Otherwise, there is a possibility we could retest the recent lows. The same goes for the New York Stock Exchange, new highs minus new lows. Started to fade again. The moving average is rising, though we do want to see this get back above the zero line and turn green. For starters, NYAD, New York Stock Exchange Advanced Decline, saw more decliners last week than advancing stocks, so that needs to improve as well. So we have a lot of work to do going into Monday and Tuesday. So we'll be very keen to watch how the markets respond after the opening range on Monday and what institutions are doing by way of the number of blocks that they're trading to start the week. The bond stock ratio is neutral, oscillating at highs. If this starts to drop, that would be bearish for bonds, bullish for equities. If you start to hear chatter of bonds coming in and yields rising, that would be a good sign. For equities, though, we do see yields all near recent lows, starting to bounce a little bit, with the 3-month in blue, green denoting the 2-year, and red the 10-year. We'd like to see all of these rising in the opposite direction if you're bullish for equities. And pay particular interest to the 20-year bond, TLT. The big whipsaw that we saw over the preceding 3 weeks starting to dissipate, again with volatility coming in, VIX dropping. We could see a narrower range in TLT. It's certainly something to be watching for to start the week, Monday and Tuesday. While the Barclays Aggregate Bond Fund, AGG, also gives us the same sort of look, whipsawing the previous 3 or 4 weeks, starting to come in a bit on this daily time frame, flagging. Range seems to be narrowing somewhat. Looking for direction this week on bonds, while HYG and junk bonds finished off the week a little bit lower. So what we're looking for here is a wave up after a wave down and a wave up. Last week we had a wave down. Perhaps we get a wave up. RSI would need to rise. This would be bullish for equities if we saw HYG and junk rising. Look for more blocks this week. We'll do the same. And we'll let you know if we see any kind of bullish activity in junk bonds and high yield corporate. If that does happen, that would be bullish for equities short term as a risk on indicator. In addition, we'd like to see some of these currency pairs slow down in their range. With the British pound US dollar whipsawing around, it did slow down at the 21-day last week. Same with the US dollar. Big whipsaw starting to slow down. You can see slower over here, then get very extreme in both directions. Came back down, starting to bounce. Maybe this starts to consolidate its range in the short term, which would be good for commodities as well. Crude oil, copper, and gold. You can see the gold versus SPY ratio. Gold is outperforming the spiders as a hedge, with copper rising over the last couple of weeks. That would be bullish for equities as well, as home builders, construction, and building products groups key off of these levels. Higher would be bullish for those stocks, lower would be bearish. In addition to looking for a follow-through in gold this week, look for a retest of the highs in the short term. Finally, we have crude oil, West Texas. In this particular case, the weekly time frame, we had quite the bounce last week, 31.75% from the previous week's close up to the high. So if you're bullish equities, you want to see crude oil moving higher. If you're bearish, you want to see this moving lower and retracing last week's gains. Sectors also showed a vast improvement over the last 2 weeks. Last week was quite the shocker, with oil and gas and energy performing very well, 24%. We're looking for oil and equipment and exploration and production stocks, this whole group, to continue performing very well. Technology had a good week in addition to what we saw in the international indices, so be sure to pause this video and check out some of the international ETFs that perform the best going into the week. Finally, we'll look at some of these IBD 50 stocks that are showing relative strength, showing a potential for follow-through. In addition to Market Smith Growth 250, we'll cover some of those names as well. Of particular interest to me are stocks that are above their moving averages, like we saw AUDC. That one's been on the watch list for the last few weeks. We've discussed these in the weekend video newsletters as well. BRBR is back. Bristol Myers Squibb looking very good. As I mentioned, healthcare stocks starting to improve, looking good. Edwards Life Sciences, in addition to a few others. Houlihan Lokey, I pointed out 2 weeks ago that mergers and acquisitions might come to the fore, and we saw this stock really ripping higher, up over 25% last week, finishing up near the recent highs, as it was featured in the watch list 2 weeks ago. WUBA, this one's new on the IBD 50. We're keeping an eye on stocks that are moving above the 21-day and 9 EMA. 9 EMA is about to cross through. Over the next several weeks, if this continues, we should see back and fill, a retest of the 200-day, RSI rising. Many of the Chinese stocks looked fairly strong last week. AMD, we're looking for a push higher. I wouldn't really want to see a retest of the 200-day, but it's possible. With RSI below 50, MACD starting to turn, volume picking up on Friday. ANSS holding all these lows. Finished off the week Thursday and Friday with a bullish candle or two, looking for a follow-through. AUDC, from previous mentions, this one continues to trend higher. Fairly inexpensive stock. Look for a retest of recent highs at 28. BRBR, bell ring brands following through, moving briskly through the 9 and 21-day last week. Look for a retest of recent highs. Fairly inexpensive stock. RSI is climbing very quickly as the bulls are persistent. MACD above its signal line and volume increasing, showing institutions have been picking up shares. Looking for BlackRock to continue higher, RSI to rise above 50, MACD to stay above its signal line. I'd like to see more volume. The pullback last week was on lower volume, so that's notable. And more bullish if we start to see a move higher on above average volume. Bristol Myers, I don't recall if this was on the IBD 50 last week, but this does look very strong. Coming off the lows 2 weeks ago, following through non-stop through the 9 and 21-day moving average. We'll have a crossover shortly. The 21-day will cross back up through the 200-day. That'll be a good sign. RSI is rising through 50. Look at very strong. Look at Eli Lilly, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, all of them looking pretty strong over the last couple of weeks. Looking for CTLT to continue higher as well, get above the 200-day. That threshold should bring higher prices. Chegg, again, remains on the IBD 50, purveyor of online and printed textbooks for students, elementary, middle school, and high school students, and college-level students as well. Nice hammer on Friday. Let's see if we can get a follow-through above the 21-day and then a test of the 200-day in the short term. Volume started to pick up on Friday. Edwards Life Sciences, nice reversal on Thursday and Friday. Looking for a move above the 21-day here as well and a test of the 200-period moving average. Volume picked up on Friday. MACD is above its signal line and RSI is rising. Should make it through 50 if this trend continues. 5-9, we talked about this one last week as well. Holding the 9 EMA, look for a follow-through. Wave up, wave down. Look for a wave up and RSI to rise on above average volume. Note volume did taper off as it pulled back to the 9 EMA. Buyers stepped up, noted with these 3 wicks right along the 9 EMA. Fortinet, same idea as the previous stocks we just mentioned. A move through the 9, the 21-day, and the 200-day. Super strong. Looking for this consolidation to lead to higher prices. Look for a follow-through. RSIs above 50 and MACD's above its signal line. Volume increasing on Thursday, tapering a little on Friday. Look for a follow-through this week. Houlihan Lokey, we already talked about this one. Mergers and acquisitions specialist. Look for a lot of stocks, a lot of companies that are failing, getting gobbled up by bigger companies. They need to go to some of the major banks. Goldman Sachs has a mergers and acquisitions department. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. Houlihan Lokey is another one. And price action shows the bulls are all over this one. I wouldn't chase it here. Look for a little flag at resistance. Maybe we'll get a deep cup and handle pattern and then a breakout. All depends on what bulls want to do as we approach overbought territory. Alumina above the 9 and 21-day moving average. Look for a test of the 200-day. Much the same as some of the stocks we've already talked about. Insight looking very strong. All these healthcare stocks looking very persistent. Looking for a move above the 200-day. RSI is very strong. Volume increasing on Friday on this move to the 200-day. MACD is above its signal line. Look for INCY to continue higher and test these pivot highs to start the week. Microsoft, nice earnings in its recent report. As some have already mentioned, sales and earnings increasing. The lifeblood of a stock that's moving higher, you need to see Annual sales and earnings increasing. Microsoft is a favorite. Look at these stellar IBD numbers as well. Earnings scheduled in 20 days. The last earnings beat was 37%. Volume has been increasing. Look for a follow-through, a bounce. I'd like to see relative strength line continue to climb. This showed up on the blue dot scan as relative strength line shows internal strength. We're looking for Microsoft to follow through this week. And maybe something on Monster Beverage. Higher low. Look for a wave up. The pullback was on lower volume. Look for RSI to rise. eGov, talked about this one over the last couple of weeks as well. National Information Consortium. This company works with states, providing a portal for outsourcing and website development services to state and local governments. We talked about this one last week as well, also on the blue dot scan. Relative strength, annual sales and earnings increasing. States need assistance. Companies like NIC help out. Symbol eGov with earnings in the first week of May. Netflix also held up fairly well. If you remember, XLC, the communications sector, held the 9 and 21 day. We're looking for the same here. This little pullback came on lower volume. That's exactly what you want to see. If RSI starts to rise, look for a follow-through. As a function of price, RSI will rise. Buyers did step up at the 21-day, noted in this wick. The 9 EMA and 21-day, looking for support there and a follow-through. MACD's above its signal line. Look for volume to increase if it does start to rise on Monday and Tuesday. Looking for NVIDIA to hold the 21-day. This is very important because we're trading Intel and other stocks like AMD, CLAC, KLA-10 Core, LRCX. We'd like to see this moving higher. The main thing I'd like to see on Monday is right around 10 o'clock. We look for big block options trades to give us an indication what institutions are doing. So I'd love to see NVIDIA, CLAC, Intel, and others trading big blocks right after 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:20, and give us an indication what chip stocks might do going into this seasonally strongest month of the year. Second only to July, which is the strongest month of the year for technology. QualSys on the list, QLYS, moved through the 9/21 day, through the 200 day as a theme that we're trying to present this week. If you see this kind of strength, look for institutions to continue buying shares. It's pretty obvious in volume above average over the last couple of weeks. As price action moved through the 200 day, you get a 21 day, 200 day cross. Looking for RSI to stay above 50. We're close enough to 50 that any breakout here would suggest that we're going to see 94 in the short term. Same goes for QDEL, which moved above its 9 and 21 day back here. Yet to retest the 200 day. That's showing relative strength. It did get a little squirrely over the last couple of weeks, but it is, note, holding the 9 EMA. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that got tested. Buyers stepped up, inherent in those wicks. Looking for RSI to stay above 50, volume to pick up, be more bullish. The little pullback on Friday came on lower volume. MACD's above its signal line, showing signs of continuing its persistent trend. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, another theme we just talked about with regard to Johnson & Johnson, Bristol Myers Squibb, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. All these pharmaceutical names are doing quite well. Looking for these wick to confirm on Monday or Tuesday. If we do see a follow-through, we could take out 518 in the short term. MACD's above its signal line. Did see a little bit of selling on Friday, but we didn't pull back to the 9 and 21 day, which is showing relative strength. Silicon Motion, ADS, looking for a follow-through. SIMO, SIMO, looking for a follow-through. It tested the 200 day on Friday. Volume was above average and showing signs institutions are picking up shares. $38 stock. Could be a $55 stock if this trend persists. A Taiwan-based company, designer of microcontrollers, universal serial bus flash drives, and card readers. Relative strength line is climbing. We do have earnings. First week of May, annual sales and earnings continue to climb. Good IBD metrics to boot. Look for a follow-through this week. Gets above the 50-day, right there, tested it, and the 200-day on Friday. Teladoc pretty strong, looking for a follow-through here as well. TradeWeb also showing up on the MarketSmith Growth 250 relative strength scan. Looking for a follow through. RSI is rising. Push through the 921 day. Same theme, same idea. Push through the 200 day. Didn't pull back to the 200 day. So let's see how this flag starts out on Monday. It could be a follow through very quickly if more stocks get bought up. Remember, the New York Stock Exchange advanced decline. We want to see more of these stocks moving higher to start the week. West Pharmaceuticals, another pharmaceutical stock. Looking for that to follow through as well. Zoom video, nice reversal. I know some of you in the trading room were in this one last week. Thursday, reversal up to Friday. Gets above the 21 day. We could see and revisit the highs in the short term. RSI is turning back above 50. And ZTO Express, this stock is just persistent as they come. Continues to climb. Looking for a follow through and a breakout. Volume has been tapering off as it's held the 9 and 21 day moving average. Hasn't come back and tested the 200 day since back here in August. Very strong stock, RSI above 50 to start the week. Some of the stocks from the 100% volume screen following through. All of these look good for the week ahead. GSIT, inexpensive stock, showing relative strength, above average volume. SIGA, SIGA, also showing some relative strength. Another inexpensive name, doesn't report for another 28 days. BIO, looking strong. Develops automated test systems, test kits, instruments used for clinical, diagnostic, and life sciences research. Big these days. Kaneko CCJ, looking good. $8 stock following through. A Canadian company engaged in the exploration, refining, and conversion of uranium in the US, Canada, and Kazakhstan. Some stocks in the relative strength scan that look good. Make sure you stop the video and check these out. AUDC, Bristol Myers, Charter Communications, Sienna. All these looking very good. Dollar General, pretty strong looking stock as well. Some of you trading some of these names last week were also watching for Walmart to follow through. Talking about in-store sales, a 20% boost last week, as well as 30% online orders. A big sales increase for any company. Following through, looking for a retest of these recent highs. We did see the 125 call for this Friday, as well as the 130 call for May trading pretty heavily towards the close on Friday, so keep an eye on those. The 125 call for Friday and the 130 for May to start the week. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for April the 5th, 2020. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 11:30 on the East Coast, 8:30 on the West Coast, so be sure to check that out in your inbox. Once again, we'll start off the week cautious. We want to see what institutions have in mind. After the opening range on Monday, it'll give us an idea how the week might start out. A lot of these stocks look ready to follow through, but we're not just going to jump in just because they're on the watch list. That's why it's called a watch list. We want to see what institutions do on Monday and Tuesday. So have a great weekend, what's left of it. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. I hope this helps.